The other thing I keep forgetting to do is to hit the go live button on YouTube. So the entire Natix broadcast today was just sitting there ready. Yeah, no. So what I do is Natix actually uses GoToMeeting. So I have to basically bring up GoToMeeting, and then I have this software, XSplit, basically copying. So it's funny. I have GoToMeeting that copies my left monitor, and then I have this also copying my left monitor. So like everything is pulling from my left monitor. But again, thank God I have a good upload speed though, because I figured, broadcasting them in and then also broadcasting out through Restream to go to Twitch and YouTube. I actually do need that crazy upload speed. But yeah, so I had to like change settings around so like it doesn't hit, grab the system sound, but it grabs the microphone sound. And yeah, I thought I checked it, but I guess not. I'll take the wildlife for some people around here. I don't know. See, the problem is if the wildlife starts coming up, God knows what type of creatures will come out of the subway in New York. Right? God knows. I mean, there are rats the size of cats down there. Nope. Go to my dashboard. Forgot to do tickets. I'm like behind today, guys. Sorry. I'm definitely tired. Run down. Let's see. Who won last night? Last night was a Wealth Builder. So let's see. Go back to here. I'll ask that later, I'm sure. So somebody just remind me later. All right, there we go. Contest is live. Get those tickets in. Get your tickets. Tickets for the trolley. Creatures in the subway. The homeless have commandeered the trains. Have they really? I was wondering that. Yeah. Yeah, I was wondering what was going to happen with the homeless population. Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, but God, I don't know. That's why it's just, I don't believe any of the data that we see at this point anymore. I mean, New York is as densely packed as some, the Chinese cities that were affected, but yet they had like only 3,000 deaths in the entire country. No. That's not chocolate. Oh, I know. The subways are an experience. I think everybody in a lifetime should experience public transportation in New York City. They should try a subway train, especially during rush hour. And they should do rush hour, late night, and then they should get in a taxi. The only place in the country where the hand is on the horn before it's on the brake pedal. Right? Yeah, it's a little crazy. It's a little scary, but, what are you going to do? All right, so markets today were pretty interesting. It's, and one of the most interesting things about it is the pound took it on the chops today, right? The pound got hammered, but there's absolutely no news over here on the pound. There's nothing. Nothing talking about the pound whatsoever. Look in the hottest news, nothing talking about the pound. I mean, we had yesterday talking about 3 different things wrong with the CAD, which really didn't do anything, but there's nothing on the pound. So it's kind of like, Yeah, it was pretty set up at 10 a.m. Sure. Yeah. Everything actually at 10 a.m. when Trump made that tweet about saving the oil industry or like backstopping the oil industry, a lot of things popped. I was able to get an Aussie. Actually, there was a pound dollar trade short that popped in, and then also an Aussie yen trade that popped in. I was able to grab like 65 pips in like the matter of like an hour. So it worked out pretty well. There's a couple good things this morning. Yeah. Yup. So, but besides that, I mean, look at the euro dollar. Euro dollar moved 1 pip in 24 hours. Kind of flat, right? Pound dollar, obviously that got hammered. Dollar yen, 2 pips. Dollar Swiss, 9 pips. Dollar CAD, 68, which is like nothing. Aussie dollar, minus 33. Again, nothing. Euro pound, up 102. Again, that's the pound. And then the pound yen. Now, interestingly enough, you see this down here? A 2,000 pip opportunity is unfolding in the New Zealand dollar. And I was like, what? I was like, I gotta check this out. I was like, what? I'm like, it's moved 61 pips. So how this is a 2,000 pip opportunity, I'm like, don't know. Now, in looking at all the news here, I'm gonna put this back before I'm like, wait a second, where's the Aussie? Why is the Aussie not there? That'll drive me crazy. Looking at everything down here, it's pretty interesting. Again, a lot of this is going to be oil-based news today. I found this gem of a news release as well. Major oil traders collapse, risk appetite, and talking points. So check this out. Major trader, the largest trading firm, the biggest oil trading firm, Hin Trading, has filed for bankruptcy protection, seeking to restructure nearly $4 billion in debt. So remember we talked about somebody was holding that paper? Well, we found out who was holding some of that paper. We found out who was holding some of it. $4 billion they are on the hook for. So, yeah. Biggest one, bankrupt. Yeah, I saw this and I was like, ouch. Ouch. And U.S. crude futures plunged 6% on Monday. I was like, yeah, somebody's getting fired. Well, they haven't said it's one person. It's like, you always see that fat fingering. But, yeah, I don't know. Right? You can't really say that this is a fat finger situation. Because you knew somebody was going to be on the hook for this one. But, yeah, look at that. The biggest oil trading firm in Singapore. Right? Its biggest trading oil firm. It's not a guy. It's the firm. Boom. $4 billion worth of loss. Yeah. I'm telling you. It's why you got to be careful. Risk, 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 risk. An opportunity to strike oil. Nadex. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll see. Now that, we actually have actual prices again, we can start looking at it. But it's all messed up. It's, excuse me, first time in history ever down to zero. And, yeah, people are going bankrupt. People are going bankrupt. We'll see. I'm very curious to see what this plan is to backstop. And like I said, my opinion is backstop the workers. Don't backstop the company. I have no love lost for them. 2008, when basically the entire United States was collapsing and, retirements were cut in half and foreclosures went all-time high. Exxon had record profits of like $48 billion. It was like unbelievable how much money that they made that year. And basically gouged the rest of the country with $3.60 gas. So it's called karma. It all comes around, goes around. The oil industry has a limited future. I mean, all technology now is based off of, basically removing fossil fuel as its target. So as one of the very smart oil traders said today, it's supply and demand. And demand for oil in the future is going to be going down. And if they don't prepare for it, if they don't invest in other technologies, I mean, that's the nature of the beast. I mean, I don't see people, there are not people that are trying to save, production workers in Rochester and Baltimore and Pittsburgh and these other industrial cities that are no longer needed, right? We didn't save those guys. It's just a matter of the times, and oil does not have the power globally as it used to. Okay. There are other technologies that are being advanced and pushed forward. And, even the guidelines, going further are to try to get us away from fossil fuels. So, unfortunately, greed is what brought us to the point we are now. High greed made more people produce oil. Now, more people are producing oil, so there is a much higher supply. Then all of a sudden, we have a hiccup like this where we don't have any demand, and you got all these people producing oil because of the greed of one organization called OPEC, or one group called OPEC. So, what do you expect? I mean, when you drive greed really, really high, this is what happens. So, I don't think it's fair to the workers. I mean, they are jobs. It's just like a job like anything else. But, at the end of the day, I think they should be backstopped just like the airlines and anything else. But the companies shouldn't be bailed out. The companies should be given, the same rights that everybody else had, that, they'll get, loans and furloughs and things like that. But, oil hedges themselves. Oil companies are not stupid. They knew that this was coming. I mean, you don't have $54 billion worth of profit and then just do nothing with it. You invest in new things so you have other streams of income. Guys, as you know, if you put all your eggs in one basket, eventually if that basket breaks, you're in trouble. Okay? So, again, you have to be able to adapt and move forward into the future. It doesn't matter what job you're in. It doesn't matter what career you're in. Anything could happen at any time. And if you're not prepared, you don't have a safety net, if you don't have a plan B and a plan C, you're going to get into problems. Okay? Airlines. You don't think the airlines were prepared for something like this? This is why Southwest is actually on the map and as big as they are, because they hedged themselves when nobody else did back in the day. They are hedging themselves again. Okay? Smart companies hedge themselves. Trust me. Oil guys aren't dummies. They probably hedge themselves. They'll try to pass it off on the workers and say, oh, we're not going to make $45 billion this year. We need to lay off all our workers. Okay. Again, oil workers are pretty skilled guys. To work on a rig and do what they do. They're pretty skilled workers. You're just not going to throw all those skilled workers away. You'd be stupid to do it. But they're going to put their hand out and take a handout like everybody else. So, Trump's playing with fire by making some of the statements that he did, I think. And we all get our feelings when Nadex goes $10 in the red. Yep. 4 billion, right? Yeah, 4 billion is quite a lot. All right, so with that being said, you guys, we have news coming in, the retail sales numbers for the Aussie. It should be an interesting news release. Comes out in about 15 minutes. We'll see where that goes. Going into tomorrow, you can see tomorrow, really not a lot. We know we have oil inventory report. That will obviously be interesting tomorrow to see where that goes. But we have CPI for the pound. Again, that's year over year. So that'll be interesting to see. Again, the pound numbers are always going to be a little bit funky right now because with Brexit, obviously things are already beat up and down and they were having major problems last year. So, it's saying they're supposed to be 1.5. It's not really much different than it was last time. And this is year over year. This is not month over month. So this is, last year where we didn't have COVID-19 to where we do right now. So we'll see how it goes. All right. And then we have CAD CPI month over month. Obviously, this will give us a much more near-term view. Not that I think CPI is going to do much. I mean, the CAD's already, the Canadian Central Bank has already basically dropped rates down to zero. It can't go any lower. That's the problem, is when you go to zero, you got no more ammunition left, and they got no more ammunition left. They're just kind of at the mercy of whatever happens now. Oil is their main export. Timber is number 2. So, I don't know. Maybe we'll need some timber, right? But for the most part, they just don't really have a whole lot else going for them. We'll see. We'll see. So that's all we got. Again, tomorrow will probably be another slow day. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these 24-hour pip changes are also not very big. The only ones I expect to move most likely is maybe the pound again. We'll see. These have been some big pound numbers. Maybe some CAD movement as well. Again, if the numbers don't come in as bad as expected, again, we could see a bit of a reversal here, right? I did see. Where is it? I did see not this one. This one at 518. That the stimulus approves a new Corona bill aid, nearly $500 total billion for businesses, hospitals. It says to help small businesses. I haven't looked at all of it, but I did see that they passed another bill. I'm curious. Again, right now the current things that they have are not really for small businesses. They say they are, but they're using the definition of under 50 employees. But for entrepreneurs, self-employed, and all of those things, the old bill didn't work. So hopefully this bill does. My uncle's a contractor in New Jersey, and he's like, yeah, between unemployment and government checks, he's like, I don't have any money yet. He's like, so I can't get unemployment because I'm self-employed. I'm not technically an employee, right? I haven't got anything from the government. So he's like, yeah, I don't know. This is just, it's frustrating. And he's like, I've never actually gotten a refund. Because I'm self-employed, I always just owe at the end of the year. And I save for that each time and then just pay. So he's like, I've never actually done the direct deposit. I was like, are you kidding me? Really? He's like, yeah. So they said I would get my check maybe in October. I was like, what are you going to do with it in October? He's like, I have no idea. So, you're going to pass the offering plate after the sermon? Nah, James, I don't want that. I don't want any of that stuff. That's the reason I don't go to church. Yeah, October is when they say people for mailings are going to probably get checks. Yeah, it's a while. It's a long time because it comes in waves and everything else, and it's kind of like, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, they said the last round of checks, the people will probably get them in October timeframe. Yeah. Yeah, it's a long time to live off ramen. Exactly, right? And again, New Jersey's not doing anything for small business, because they don't have any money left. And the interesting thing about this too, and I don't know if you guys saw this or not. I don't have the article's not up right now. I don't see anything in it now, but one of the things that states are starting to report back to the government that they are running out of unemployment money. I never thought about that, where the unemployment money came from. I mean, I know you pay into it, everything like that, and it's kind of an insurance, but at the rates that it's at now, it's blowing up all the unemployment money. So they said they may not be able to pay unemployment money. Hence why many states are like, hey, we got to reopen. We got to reopen. So I did see a couple plans. A couple friends were talking about there's 3 phases, and they're trying to figure out, as far as gyms go, like a Gold's Gym is like this, but a bunch of my jiu-jitsu friends are like, are we phase 1 or phase 3? Or are we in like phase 2? And one of the owners in the area, he was like, yeah, I talked to my lawyer, and the lawyer says we would qualify as phase 1. Although I find that hard to believe, because going to like a gym to work out on a piece of equipment is one thing. Like, you don't actually need to be anywhere close to somebody to go do that, right? You could be on barbells, you could be on a bench, you could technically be 6 feet away and still be at a gym, right? Now, obviously sweat and all that stuff, but you could like sanitize your stuff, which you should anyway. But jiu-jitsu, you're rolling around and grappling with other people. I'm pretty sure we can't stay 6 feet away and still grapple. Don't think that that's going to work. So, I don't know. It's going to be forever. I don't know. I'll get back on the mats in July, maybe. I mean, the good thing is my shoulder is still jacked up, but who knows? But yes, everybody's like talking about reopening. And then I have one friend that posted earlier today that they're saying that the second wave that's going to hit the next round of this, which we all knew another round was coming, It was supposed to come like early next year. They're saying that it may actually be like the December time period or like December, January, basically winter 2021. So like December, January, whatever. They said could be worse because at the stage that it's mutating, it could mutate a little bit too fast. We may not have as much coverage as we thought. So it's like, oh, come on. I'm not doing a homeschooling for a year. I'll murder my children. I cannot do homeschool for that long. I love teaching. But man, homeschooling is something else. So any parents that are out there homeschooling, I definitely feel for you guys. But I would still wipe them. Yeah, or just use dumbbells. You don't have to touch a machine. Q, what kind of man are you? You're on the machines, Q? Come on. I gotta hook you up with Carl. Nothing but like stones and boulders. You know, Carl throws like 100-pound axes for workouts. He's like, nah, I got my exerciser at home. I do step aerobics. Nah, just messing around really. All right, so with that said, tomorrow the biggest thing we really have is the crude oil numbers, and we'll see what it looks like. We'll see. I want to see where it's at. Kind of see what levels. The levels are kind of screwed up right now, unfortunately. And like I said, I don't know. We'll see. I want to see how fast they're gonna, give us this backstep information. But that's the best number we have for tomorrow, right? That's the best number we got. The CPI numbers are not going to be big movers for the pound or the CAD, and actually both have oil exposure. So trade with caution. Thursday's another thing. We got a bunch of stuff on Thursday. But tomorrow should be pretty slow. All right, so let's go into charts. Who's going to the gym for machines? Might as well take a walk. It's free. I know, right, Ernest? That's what I'm saying. Q, Ernest, just so you know, is like a power lifter. He's another one of those guys that like throws cinder blocks around. It's like there's 50 cinder blocks on this side of the yard. You pick them up and throw them to the other side with your right hand, and then you walk over to the other side and you pick them up with your left hand and throw them back again. That's what Ernest does for workouts. Just so you know, those Texas guys work out a little bit different. He's a power lifter. He could probably break me in half if he wanted to. Just like the tearing, like the phone books. I have an exercise machine with 4 legs and pulls up, and I gotta feed him. Yeah, I got a Great Dane, but I don't know. I'm bigger than she is. All right, so first things first. Hold on, I gotta get that. Take this off. Just realized I'm like, well, yeah, I don't need the headset. I had the other microphone on. All right, so Aussie dollar. Aussie dollar on a daily, guys, you can see here it's pushing down like we talked about last night. We'll see what type of red push we can have, but we had a nice turn area from a supply zone. We pushed down, we pulled back, and then we were getting kind of a red confirmation. We had that red confirmation, and it has broken a bit lower. It is kind of in an area where you're seeing that there's a little bit of demand in there, right? There's a little wick over wick. It's not an equidistant situation, but it is pushing. And again, going to the 4-hour, you can kind of see we broke below the lows, but we do have this area sitting right here. So it's not as clean of a break to the downside as, we would technically like to see, but what are you going to do, right? We do have the lower highs. We do have breaking of levels of demand, doing what it's supposed to do. Right now on the hourly, this is where it gets a little bit funky, right? We're definitely getting the lower highs, but we're also starting to get these higher highs in here, this consolidation. Really, since this one spike at about 9 o'clock this morning, that the Trump tweet, it's more or less just stayed within that tiny range there. And when I say tiny range, I mean about 22 pips. So it hasn't gotten really a bunch of movement from that time. It was on track to keep going down, 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 and then boom, it popped. And since that time, it's really just stayed. Unfortunately, looking at this on a 4-hour, you can see that it really just kind of flatlined today. So, the fact that it hasn't pushed much, much higher, and you have, this high, then another high, then another high, then another high, and they're all coming to the downside, it does look like there should be enough sellers sitting here. We still have the zone marked off at 63.37 up top, which is probably still a valid zone because we haven't been up, we haven't tested it, and it's the last time we really had a really large extended range candle. Besides that, we ain't got much. We don't have much else in here. So, if we manage to break out the top, shorts are probably still good in that level. Put this over here. I'll change it off the blue. Again, I should have like an 8x. Whoops. Right in that level. Okay, so you guys can see kind of where that zone is starting to kick in at. All right. So that's what we got for Aussie. Looking at Aussie CAD. So Aussie CAD is supposed to be obviously getting hugely beat up, but you can see it came off of the supply zone on the hourly. I'm sorry, on the daily. On the 4-hour, you can see where the zone is. The indicator actually grabbed it. It was tested, this level of basing. It did kind of push back to the downside. It wasn't a bad trade. And again, this was actually here yesterday. Today, it basically just based along this bottom 1 to 3 risk to reward area. So again, kind of the same situation, not a lot of trend. Looking at it on the hourly, kind of the same idea, right? You guys can see that it just didn't really, I'll move this so you guys can get it out of the way. You can see, same thing. It just really kind of based, and it looked like it was pushing down, right? Let me clear that. Pushing, 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 pushing. This is where we were last night, right in this area. So we've dropped down, grabbed this small area of demand, pulled back up again, and it looks like we were making another attempt until tweet, that tweet came out, popped it up to this level, and then it basically just it stayed in the same area. The most it moved was about 10 pips to the downside. It's in the exact same spot from where that tweet was. I think the market was really surprised by that, and really kind of what I'm thinking is people are like, what the heck is going on? Really? Because this has never happened before. I think it took a lot of people by surprise, particularly in this. But looking at this, kind of the same analysis. I like the Aussie dollar better. You have levels of demand, above. You see all these wicks, getting lower, 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 lower. So there's definitely buyers sitting up there. And really, until we get back down to these two levels, there's just not a lot. There's really no buyers. This is just all kind of chopped back and forth. So no real trend. Looking at Aussie New Zealand, pulling it back up to a daily, you can see that this one has, again, pulled away from a supply zone. Pushed down, is now inside of that green level. You can see it on the 4-hour. I'll move this out of the way. I'll use this over here. You can see it kind of did the same thing. So on this guy, where we are right now, this is where we were last night for chart school. We're basically in the same exact spot. It did the same thing. It pulled down, 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 and then right about here, this one a little bit after. This one was probably more in the afternoon. Actually, I'm sorry. This 4-hour, not an hourly. You can see from here, chart school was right here. Okay, so about 30 pips up is all we did. Okay, the hourly was the one that I was talking about. There we go. That's the one I wanted. So here you can see right about this area is where we started the pullback inside of that last pullback, right? You guys see it here where we keep kind of going back, and it pulls away from it, pulls up, and then pulls back, and then pulls up, and then pulls back, and then pulls up again, and then stayed. And it did break through, but it's still stuck in that same level, okay? Top and bottom, I don't really have too much. We do have this one white zone here that's hand-drawn, and we have a hand-drawn zone up at top. But that's more or less it. Like, there's really just not a lot sitting in this one. Even here, you can see that there's, stretch it out, make it huge. Here's the top and the bottom. There's these little tiny zones, but there's not much. There's just not enough movement in this one right now for really much of a setup. And again, no news. There's not a whole lot. We'll see in 3 minutes if this gives us some type of little spike. We'll see where it goes, okay? Also, yeah, and this was a trade from earlier this morning. Where is it? Come up to here. Come across. You guys can see it on the 4-hour. All right. It was actually only 30-minute. It was this one over here. I'm not sure why this moved over. Oh, that was because of the downside. Sorry. That was one we talked about last night. It was this trade right here. Okay, from this level, came up, tagged, and it actually turned right on that area. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see it a little better. Looking at it now, okay, there was the zone from that I talked about from today. We got that pop up in it. It was that zone right there. And again, that just continues across at this point. It's overlapped. Right now, again, the zone's been hit a few times. It does look like it's doing okay. This area of demand right below it makes it a little bit difficult to start taking shorts out of it. It's only about 19 pips lower. I do like this level down here. I think this level down at the bottom is nice. It took a nice, huge bounce out of it. Again, that's the Trump tweet. Came back down and it got front run. So it hit the wick over wick literally right in front of the zone. So I do kind of like that as an area where we go long out of if price is able to get down here in something reasonable. In 2 minutes, if it blows right through the bottom, again, it's not a zone to hold major news, but it is a trading zone that may have some success. If we get a break of this zone, I know this is marked off up here. The zone is actually from this area right here. That's the actual zone. I know they have a little piece, but there's an area right here I also wanted to highlight that we need to watch out for. Okay, so for me, what I'm looking for, and again, we'll see how it works out with this news in a little bit, but here and here are kind of the two levels, like top and bottom, that I'm looking for, okay, that I'm kind of playing. We're still kind of in the middle. Again, this zone has been hit. This zone is just a newly formed, a little bit of a gap at the end of the day. But I think either of these two zones is where we're taking shorts out of here and then obviously longs out of this area, right? I'll change this into a green candle, okay? Be kind of there, okay? I think those are the two that we should be looking for at this point in the Aussie yen. And again, we may get a spike up this one in a minute when the news comes out. Looking at Aussie Swiss, Aussie Swiss, we can see that this one bounced off the gap. Now, this one had a nice movement, right? We had a nice red, a nice green, and then a nice red again. It did not break. Well, it's close. It's close. You guys can see that it's right here. It's about to break through. It's kind of bouncing off that level. The fact that it is basing, and again, I'll show you in the lower time frame. We can't see it on there. The fact that it is basing, sitting on top of this demand zone, is actually a good thing. And the reason why is we know that there's some buyers in there, but what it's doing is it's starting to chop those buyers up. So if I mark off just the top of that level and then we drop it down, you can see that we've hit it again, we've hit it again, we've hit it again. So it is eating orders up in here and it's grabbing more sellers right there, right? This drop, sideways and drop, came up and front run, grab more, pushed all the way down again, grab more, and it will probably come again. So it's eating those orders up. So we know that this zone is gone. We know that this zone is kind of eaten up, and we know that we're dealing with this zone right now. All good things. Would I be willing to take a short off this area? It's not bad. I mean, you know, we know there's a zone sitting right below. So the most this thing can move is really about 27 pips. The risk level in this little zone, though, is only about 12. So it's not too bad, but it doesn't quite have a 3-to-1 before it gets through. So we really needed to break through this bottom zone. And again, that's on the 4-hour, breaking through. And then we can kind of play around with these bottom levels down here. We got a little bit of a thing, and this is what I really wanted to break through. This zone, again, as I said, is going to be a bit difficult. We know that where the indicator is, there's levels there because it's been retested. But in this range, there's going to be something, right? There's going to be something sitting most likely in here just in front of it. But if we're breaking through this level in this range, that could give us an opportunity to get some shorts. Or, again, once the zone is gone, depending on how the entrance is, we may come in for a bounce here and then it push back up again. All right, so couple different things to do with this one. Like I said, Aussie Swiss is not one that is, you know, in the first 5 pairs that most people look at, but it has had some trading opportunities on some smaller time frames, and that may be where we need to kind of play this one, right? You guys can see that one's kind of bouncing off of everything. Here's kind of the lowest time frame where you're seeing the 2 levels bouncing back. There's that level from the hourly above, right? So again, here, that's kind of what I was looking at, right? Risk on that is, what at 12? Yeah. 10, 11. 11 is the way it's drawn right now, and that's off this screen, not that one. So the 1 to 3 is actually right at that level. So something small. Again, if you guys are looking for an overnight, if the news, let's see. Let me see what the news was real quick. It came in 8.2 retail sales. That's actually not bad. The previous was 0.5. So here, check this out. Look at that. 0.5 was the last one. Retail sales number of 8.2. Now, there was no forecast, so it was hard to... Basically, this is them throwing the talons like, I got no idea. I had no idea, right? And it came in as 8.2. So that's a huge number, but with no forecast, the market hadn't prepared for any type of number. So, you know, that's good news. It's good news. You're seeing Australia is coming back online again with retail sales. You know, got to be happy about that one, right? And again, that's basically consumer spending is the main gauge inside of this one. Okay. So good. Nice. Solves issues of interim release to cover the impact of COVID-19. Oh, the alert. The month over month. Yeah. So positive news. Again, Australia is in the recovery stage. And now you're seeing inside of numbers from, you know, now versus a month ago. So great news on that one. Again, that will bring some demand back in the market, and you're seeing this one kind of react to it. Let's see if it did anything on the lower time frames here. No, because there was no forecast, it's going to be hard to predict much on this one. Yeah, it's got a little, yeah, not much. Little bit of a spike up and down, but nothing too crazy, right? And again, no forecast, market couldn't prepare for it. It was just kind of like, all right, what's the number? What are we looking at? But again, overall positive number for the Aussie. Now let's go down and look at the CAD. Whew, CAD. All right, so you guys can see that the CAD over here, let's go up CAD Swiss. CAD Swiss is still kind of rolling back down off of that one supply level on the daily. And you're able to see it's pushing down. And again, I'll drop the lower time frame so we can get a little better view. So we had his own drawn up here. And again, this was based off of this 30-minute candle. Actually, it should have been a little bit higher. But we'll take that off because prices move so far away. Now, this bottom demand zone is actually held up pretty good. You guys can see that demand zone was formed here. It's quite a large level, right? I mean, we're talking about 19 pips on this 30-minute. This one doesn't move that much. So it's kind of a larger zone based off of what we normally see. It did have great movement. I mean, look at the explosion off of this. The move, just the green candles, was about 91 pips. The daily ATR is only 61, so this is obviously a pretty big mover. you know, in the grand scope of things. The one below it as well is also pretty nice, but it drove much, much deeper into the zone. This blue retest drove all the way to here into the zone. This one only drove about halfway through. So it is a better zone, right? Would I have taken it for a long? I don't know. I mean, we have seen some Swiss strength come back into the markets more or less across the board. There is a little bit of a zone sitting right in here, and that's what it looks like it came off of right now. If we get another little bit of a retest, this may not necessarily be a bad one. I'd like this 1 to 3 to be a little bit higher, but price has actually already been down on this level one time, so it may not be bad. Again, we're going to have a little speed bump right there, but there may be a small trade in the Swiss right now, this CAD Swiss. CAD Yen. CAD Yen, again, it had an up day, right? It supposedly got crushed, but again, it came right back up again, and it's at a level of basing. Okay, here was that last big level of basing here, and again, you push it across, you can see we're really stuck in that same level. Haven't necessarily left. So I'll delete these right now just to make it a little bit more clear. That one I'll keep. That one's fine. You know what? I'll move it. Move it down here. I'm going to move this down. Because right now, this is giving us the most near-term zone that has good movement. Love the movement here. This is a base across, and then boom, another bit of movement here. So that's another valid zone that's coming into play. And that zone is sitting at 76.25, right? 76.25 right there. If we can get back up to that zone, easiest way to play this one, and again, it's not a pair you normally look at. Set yourself an alert at 76.20. About 5 pips ahead of time. This one is not as big of a mover. That way it'll give you plenty of time to come back, look for a short coming out of this one. Okay. All right, let's look at Swiss. Ernest has got a power lift and a spacesuit. Hey, I'm trading for Alien the Attack. Yeah, remember what was that movie? Was it Aliens Attack? The one that had like man, what's his name? He was working in Vegas. He was like an old boxer or something like that. He would just like go punch the guys. I forget what his name is. I can't think of it right now. It's on the tip of my tongue. Mars Attacks? Is that the movie, I think? Mars Attacks, maybe? Or Martians Attack? I want to say it's Mars Attack. Man, I gotta look it up now. It's gonna bug me. It's got like the really funky thing. Yeah, Mars Attacks, 1996. Yeah. There he is, yeah. All right. I was like, man, it's driving me nuts. And it's got like the really like creepy alien inside like the globe. It's got Jim Brown as the guy who was like in Vegas, and he's like running around punching the globes of the aliens. Was it Tim Burton? Is it? Oh, you're right. Director Tim Burton. Its budget was $70 million. But it has like Jack Nicholson, Sarah Jessica Parker, Pierce Bronson. It's got a bunch of people in it. More people than you would think. Right? Crazy people. But anyway, back to the charts. So Swiss yen is also in a situation where it looks like we could be, getting some dropping. The problem is I'm not really interested going short. It did hit our gold trigger line. It did come down and it did pop a little bit, but you guys can see this one is obviously in a downtrend, right? We have the highs are getting lower. The wicks are kind of pushing down. It is going through a zone. It's broken the zone about 60% of the way through. So for me, I'm pretty sure this one is going to continue to break. It may pause or go sideways a little bit through the zone, but I think it will continue to come down. Now, there was a bit of an area here that was, we did have a pop. It did get pushed all the way down with this. So the next time we really have anything that's pretty clean would be this level right here. That level starts down at what? 109.28. So really, any type of a nice little pullback or, something on, again, this is on the daily, but anything that gives us like a nice little entry on the lower time frames, this would be the overall target down here at 109.28. Okay. Now here you can see this is a big zone. Wouldn't necessarily trade that, but we need to kind of get through it. Yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at. And again, looks like it'll turn and flip back on us. It just, getting an entry is going to be a pain on this one. Look at this. Really just no sideways movement. One pop down, pop right back up again, and we're still stuck in that same zone. This zone up here is not bad. Because you have all this kind of sideways chatter back and forth, this is the first time that we've really seen that really hasn't been tested. So top side, that is sitting at 111.56. So Look to be taking some, again, if we can get back up there, look to take some shorts. If not, we got to look for breaks of this zone down here at 110. This one's going to be a little bit harder to play, unfortunately. Probably later in the week. Euro dollar. So remember the euro pairs. Let me bring this in right now. Euro pairs right in the scanner. You can see that for the most part, everything is inside of a setup range, right? We have an anchor break. You're seeing, more or less blue up top, but, against the Swiss, the yen, and the dollar, we're showing down, right? So against the weaker currencies, again, versus the CAD, uptrend setup, but again, just some movement, and we got some, confirmed movement up. So this one will most likely be out of the setup range pretty soon. We do have the anchor break on the euro yen, but we knew about that. That's obviously a pound issue. Euro New Zealand, it's up, but it's starting to kind of flip on the lower time frame. And then we get kind of in this range where things are mixed, right? We have a blue, but then red, blue, blue. So things are getting a little bit confusing. And again, these are in setups, but we're seeing that these things are just pushing. So the question is, are these going to be anchor breaks pretty soon to the top side? So Euro's in an interesting spot, more or less across the board. So here's Euro Aussie, and you can see it's hard to see because I have these. I don't have them marked off as far as the different time frames, but you can see we're kind of pushing down to a base, dropping down to the hourly. This is what we were talking about. Okay, so we had a bit of a zone, and this was an entry for us earlier, right? This entry triggered at about, well, this would have been last night, right at chart school time frame, right? So you can see we get about 2/3 of the way through in this one before it turned and flipped. So had you taken this position, worst case scenario, you would have got out of break even, but most likely you would have banked some pips on this one, probably a 1-to-1. It did come up, it did hit that zone again and pull back again, but it ran out of steam at that point and it continued to push higher. And at this point, it's just riding along the top of that zone. Hasn't given us a reversal pattern or a chart, to the top side. Hasn't really tried to turn back to the downside. It literally, it moved down and then just kind of is floating. So, from where we were last night here at 21, you can see they were about 35 pips higher. But this is not really a trend. This is just sideways movement. And I'm on an hourly right now. Even on the 30-minute, you can see there's really, I'll make it really, really big. There's not much in this, right? We're talking about, it's 70 pips top to bottom, right? On the 30, right? On a daily, this is still 218, so it's not that much. We stayed, 1/3, right? 1/3 of what its ATR is the range that we were in today. So, it's there. Again, remember, guys, once this thing moves to 1.5 to 1, make sure you move your stop loss to break even. Okay, so worst case scenario, break even trade on this one. I don't see any setups in this right now. It's consolidating and not doing a whole lot. Euro yen. So Euro yen actually missed a pretty nice little entry down here. It did pop right off that zone, but you guys can see it. This one cut front run. Okay, was looking for that to come down. It didn't. And after that, it really didn't do much. It just stayed within the same range. So there was a zone just a little bit higher here. You can see that really all we did today is we came down and we tagged this zone. Instead of kind of going a little higher before dropping, it ended up dropping pretty sharp last night. Hit the zone, and then it's come back up again. So this is what it looked like today. You guys can see, I'll hit the timer. Right here, 9 o'clock, here was the Trump tweet. Right here. Right there. Boom. So it was doing nothing. Trump tweeted, I'm going to save oil, boom, and then it stayed at the same exact plane. So you can't get much more flat, pop, and flat on that one, but the pop area went right into a level where we have seen previous basing. So looking at this, I would have to say I am pretty much more bearish. I'd like it to go just a little bit higher. I would be interested in getting short in this position. As you can see, we had the hand-drawn one. The indicator is actually showing us on the hourly that there's a zone sitting right here. Approximately at 117.26, and it has a good 1 to 3, 1 to 5 range. Let me see on a 30-minute if it's any better. Yeah, it's a little bit higher on the 30-minute. It's here. Same risk on the 30-minute, but yeah, just slightly above. It's the zone that I had marked off here. It's that zone. Okay, so either one, you can take it hourly. Again, be a little bit more aggressive on it if you want, or otherwise just use it down here on the 30-minute. Okay, either one of these will work. 30-minute is going to require about 37 pips worth of movement. We could definitely get that in the European session if there's enough news. And again, this is one because the yen is involved. It's not necessarily something bad to get into because the yen will move this one during the U.S. session. Okay, aggressively, could you take it from a short? Yeah, you could. You could potentially take a short. Only thing I'd be cautious with of taking a short back down to this level would be the fact that you have this wick area right here. that has turned price around, right? And you would probably see that. Yeah, you guys see it right here. There's the 15-minute. You can see it. So, I mean, if we move it and block off that area, I mean, if we mark the entire candle, you can see we actually touched it behind, but right about there. Okay. So, again, building some things up. We got a little bit of an area on the low term. So, you know, aggressively, could you take it? Probably, but I don't think I'd take. It's not as exciting for me to take it short right now. I think I'd much rather wait till we get back up to this other level. Okay, I think that's a much safer level back up top, and that level is approximately 117.37. Okay, again, that's the upper end of the range here, but drop it down to a 30-minute. You can see a little bit clearly, and this is a nice little test here. Coming in this green candle went about that deep into the zone. So I like that one better. I think the 30-minute is the way to play the Euro Yen. Euro New Zealand, ATR is still 208. It's literally collapsing, but it's starting to kind of level out right now. We are at the upper end of the curve right now in the near term. So interestingly enough, we did have an area. We did actually bounce off it a little while ago. It hasn't done much for 12 hours in this one. Oops. There you go. But you can see on the hourly, we just missed it. The 4 hours encompassing this candle, right? You guys can see it. Yeah, it's encompassing this little bit, this pullback. On the hourly, it's not grabbing the pullback. It's going to the very, very top, and it's a lot of wicks. But not necessarily a bad area. Looking at this, again, high on the curve. Price has been turned away from that area before. The risk level in this one, though, is about 25. Not huge, especially for a New Zealand-based pair. The spread is 4, though, so the spread is a little bit bigger than what we typically like. There's where the entry would be. You're looking at approximately 182.73, right? And then targets are sitting down here, okay, at 102.05 and 181.61 respectively, okay? And again, I like this one because it does put us back at the top of the curve. Price has been turned away, so those are two big pluses to kind of stack the odds in your favor, all right? Looking at Euro Swiss. Euro Swiss really is not enough movement. I looked at this one earlier. It's continuing to grind down, but the candles are getting very, very tiny. Okay, here the daily ATR right now is 24 pips. Okay, it's actually lower than it was during normal movement. So I don't know what it is with this pair, but down to 24 pips in a day, this is insane. Like it's like not moving at all. So lower time frame. I mean, you can see here. I'll stretch it out to make it look like it's super impressive. But you're talking from top to bottom here, 19 pips on the 30-minute. So just no movement. There's just not enough to trade and not enough explosion in this one. So Euro Swiss is really nothing to trade. Euro dollar. So euro dollar, again, consolidating back in. We know that this one moved a total of, where are we at now? Refresh it. Yeah, we're at a total of 1 pip in 24 hours. So this one is really consolidating in. And again, it's all on top of each other. I'm trying to make it wider here. Okay. Here's what we got. So we had marked off this zone on this lower time frame. I'm going to move the numbers so you guys can see it. Here is our check mark from that zone. If I extend that zone across right there and right here, there was your zone. And whoops, not the violated. The time level, you can see that at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, there's your Trump tweet. Okay. Again, amazing what Twitter can do, right? There's your 1 to 3. Did not quite make it up to its 1 to 5. Interestingly enough, though, on this one, the 1 to 5 based off of this level took you to the opposing side where we were talking about, right? But again, this was up. This was up in 1, ended up hitting right up into here. There was your 1 to 3 target right there. Okay, and that's the level that we marked off last night as far as the euro dollar. Risk wasn't bad in either. Risk on this one was only about 12. Okay, so there was your trade. Right now, again, we're not doing a whole lot. I would say this zone is probably valid for one more, maybe. I mean, it came down to about here. It's probably obviously the reaction off of it was pretty nice. It was a probably big reaction. I liked it if it wasn't as far, but yeah, I'd probably take out one more time. Probably, because it was such an explosive move and it didn't really go much further. It's probably worth one more. Okay, so that entry would be around 108.25. And again, it's small risk. I mean, what did I say we were talking here? You're talking about 13 pips risk, so not a whole lot. But again, nice runner today. I did not catch this one. I actually caught it in 2 other pairs, but same analysis. You know, again, that zone was a nice zone. Last time price was here, we had a nice explosion out of the top. So, you know, good. That's what you're looking for, guys. You're looking for big explosion. You know, that's why this is a zone. That's why this is a zone. It's the explosion. It's the exit that you're looking for, right? Top side. So if this one starts to get some legs, right? So if we start to get some legs in this one, okay, areas I would look to on the top side. Obviously, that one is marked. This is another little zone right here that I'd be looking for. That one is approximately 109.32. So a bit of ways away, but if we start kind of pushing back up, or for some reason we do have a big day in the euro dollar, the last time price was there, it based and it shot down and then shot down again. So there's something going on there. There's also a minor level, really kind of right there. Hold on, right there. No, not that. Okay. And you can see price came in, tested, got front run, and it hasn't been able to get back. And that level is sitting here. So either of these two technically are not bad areas to short. The 109, and it says 01, but we can move it just slightly lower and get it right down to the 109 range right there. Okay. 109 should be interesting. It's kind of a turning point from where we've been lately. But yeah, so there are two potential areas up top. If we get up to there, I'd be looking for shorts. And again, if we get back down to this 108.24 range, 25 range, there could be a minor long there as well. And again, that's off the level we drew last night. Euro pound. So euro pound, you can see, has quite a big day. Now, it is actually sitting inside an area of supply. And on the 4 hour, you can see it really wasn't impressive, minus this one candle, right? This one candle that came in this morning at basically 9 o'clock. So most of the movement happened basically from, let's see, make sure I get you the correct numbers here. Basically from about 5 a.m. this morning, 6 a.m. this morning till 10 o'clock. Like this from here to here, this is like pre-Trump, and then it kind of turned on us. That's where all the movement actually happened in this pair. And this is just straight up bad. This is just nothing but the pound, just going straight up in the air. So 4 hour wise, you can see what was it dealing with? What was it battling? Small zone here, but look how much time it spent there, right? So is that the best zone? Not really. And now it's kind of up in, let me delete this so you can see the candles. And now it's kind of in an area to the left. You can see that, there's a small pop. There's a nice little zone, right? There was a little one here, but again, 1, 2, 3, and this would be 4 through. So I'm not necessarily worried about that as much. But this is a nice little pullback and push down. You could use the level here. It's all right. But then the next time we have some big orders come into this is really that entire area here. We have to lower it on a smaller time frame and see what's there. There you can see here's the level on the smaller time frame for this. Puts us right there, and that is 88.99. And this area, I would shrink this guy to probably there. Yeah, the bottom of that body right there. Again, this one hit and pushed, came back up, barely grazed, and then pushed away again. And that level is much, much higher. Let's see. That's 90.73. Let me check this other intermediate range there. This one's not bad. This is not bad. Yeah, that one's not bad. It's okay. All right. I think that's the first one you need to focus on, the 88.99. Now, one thing where it's at right now, it did hit and pull back and is now basing. Here's what it's basing off of. You guys see the red candle right there? That's what it's basing off of. Okay. If we do break that zone, again, there is another kind of rally-based rally sitting right here. There is a potential Harry Potter trade. Again, depending on, what time this kicks in, there is a trade potential here, and again, 1 to 3, fine location. 1 to 5, it's kind of right where the target would need to be. The risk level in this one is only about 9 pips, so it's a rather small position. That one comes in after it breaks through right here at 88.15 is where that one kind of breaks through. Targets at 88.94 or 87.94 and 87.60. So not bad, but again, typically when we see a big kind of racetrack move like that, there's going to be some type of a hiccup. Obviously, there's going to be some type of a small hiccup sitting right in this area. Besides that, again, price could come back down into this area. That's where your profit on the way down would be. Down to the 87.37, 87.36 range. Okay. Looking at EuroCAD, Eurocat is pretty choppy here on the hourly. You can see that really not a whole lot. No direction. Didn't end up hitting the zone. Kind of got front run, but not a whole lot clean. There is going to be a little bit of a bump down here, but if it's able to build this type of way on the downside with these highs getting lower, 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 I'm not interested in taking a long off of this one. So Eurocats, I'm just going to skip that one. Looking at the pound pairs. Grab some tea. All right, so pound pairs. For the most part, this one has turned. Now, is today a big surprise? Not really. When you look at what happened, is basically happening over the last 8 days, 10 days, right? We've seen this one put lower high in, a lower high in, a lower high in. So it's already been in a down run. Today just happened to be something that, kind of broke the camel's back to the downside, right? As you can see, okay, we had a little bit of a level here that we had marked off, like this basing level. Now, it was drawn here, drove all the way to the bottom, so it's kind of like pretty deep, right? Hit, more or less hit, and again, just continue to drive through. So it does look like it wants to pull up a bit. I'll get these out here so we can see it a little bit better, but you guys can see the levels of basing, right? So on an hourly, here's where this one just, for lack of a better word, it sucks, okay? There's been a couple different opportunities here, but on an hourly, you can see that most of this movement, again, kicked in last night right around chart school happened, and we took that first bounce, and then it really did not a whole lot until about 4 o'clock in the morning. Then we got the big push down, and then this move right here, this pop up that's marked off as yellow right now, that's the Trump tweet. And then immediately turned right back down again and is now stabilized. So in looking at this, I'm saying, hey, listen, something turned this around. The Trump tweet pushed it up. It retraced. It hit the same level and bounced again. And now we've had about 8 hours of nothing really going sideways. So question is that a potential bottom for this pair? There wasn't really many places to get short this. Even on the 30-minute, you guys can see that more or less, I mean, there was a one test back here on the 20th. Besides that, there's a little, this would have, I mean, this is super, super quick, right? Besides that, there just hasn't been any pullbacks. So kind of hard. Again, you guys can see the basing. Things that I would watch out for on this one, you guys can see that there is some zones a little bit lower. It's an okay zone, but it did spend, did spend quite a bit of time in here, right? I mean, we've been up and down through the zone a few times before it finally blew out. So because of the blowout, there's something there. But besides that, the next thing really isn't that close. I don't even think if we overlay, yeah, your 4 hours not even till down here. Okay. And you guys will see. I don't know if any of you guys can see this or not. I don't know. Let me see. Can I see it? Kind of. I have an extra button over here. Testing something new for you guys. You see this little button right there? Here, let me turn the time off. See that little button right here? On this bottom right here? See the mouse cursor right here? This is a new thing that we're testing. Okay. New thing for alerts. Okay. Fortunately, this one is not working right now. But yeah, new test. You guys will find out about it probably next week. So what I would do for this one, again, you're not going to see much movement in the overnight. Obviously, when we get into the pound numbers in the morning, that will be the first kind of catalyst after the London Open. 2 a.m., kind of before the London Open happens, is where we get that CPI number, and it's expected to be 1.5, so it's not necessarily bad. That may breathe some life into it, and hopefully we'll kind of see why this is being so weak. But the market is really kind of just... market is really bearish right now for the pound. And I don't know that it justifies this. I don't know. Not sure why it's doing this. It's doing it worse than I thought it would. All right, so that's pound yen. Pound dollar. This one had a nice little setup today. Dropping down here. You go to the lower time frames, you can see we had this nice little spike. Right here was the Trump spike. This 9:30 again, 30-minute is right here. Okay. Here was your position right there. And you guys can see it came up and touched it. Boom, boom, and boom right here. You're out of this trade by 12:30. So this one took about 2 hours for it to unfold. Nice little mover. And again, always look for the pullbacks. This was about a 73 pip runner on this one. So not too bad. And like I said, it kind of paused over in here and, grab what I needed to grab on this one. But easy position, right? Drop, base, drop, pop right back into the level, grab the orders, and then continue to drop to the downside. Since that time, after it did hit the bottom side, though, it more or less ran out of steam. As you guys can see, it kind of pushed a little bit lower, and then that's it. It based. So I think this will be the same thing. It'll be pretty much flat overnight. European session will open, and then we'll see what we have. We'll have tomorrow, and we'll see what European traders are bringing into this one. Levels that I'd be looking for on this one, you guys can see the 4-hour demand is right below where we are. So I'll delete this right now. You guys can see we're pretty close to demand. I would be slightly cautious with going long out of this area just because we have an area of basing right now and the wicks are kind of tearing to the downside. Okay, whenever you see these descending wicks, you got to say, hey, listen, there's probably some sellers in there. Otherwise, the wicks wouldn't be getting lower. The sellers are winning that battle. So what it looks like to me is it's going to base and go sideways. And then if it comes down, if it tries to bounce, it's going to have to deal with all these sellers in here. All right. The question is how many buyers are sitting here and will those buyers have enough? Now, if you do look to the left of the zone, you can see that we do have a range kind of in here, but it's not really like there's kind of a zone, but it's not really the best zone. You can see that there's a double wick in there kind of, and then one little kind of retest. So it's chopped. Ultimately, I think price on this one can come down into this range with a little bit of a speed bump here and a little bit of a speed bump up in here. So one thing that I am looking for, and again, we'll see how this one kind of plays out tomorrow morning. This is a 4-hour chart, so it's going to take a little bit more time. It's something along these lines. Okay, taking an area, waiting for this area to finally break, and then look where this 1 to 3 is. If you look to the left, it's kind of sitting right over here where we have a wick over wick starting. So I think price can get sucked in, and that's a pretty nice mover. It's about 200 pips down, so that could be, that could be something that, maybe touch bracket. Okay, because this is a touch bracket based pair. We'll see. It may not break, tomorrow or the next day. And going into Friday, I don't know. This is something I have on my radar. This is kind of like one of those like watch list type trades. This one on the 4-hour. But again, overnight, I don't think it's going to do much. Drop down to the 30-minute tomorrow morning. Start looking at 8:30 and see what we can have when the U.S. traders for the dollar come online. Pound CAD. Pound CAD's kind of in a funky position right now. Again, we're kind of this gigantic zone up top. We would have never traded on the 4-hour. You can see we kind of had, a little bit back and forth. We did break through the lower side of this. So this is kind of good news, right? So we had drawn this zone and price ended up popping through and then just collapsed, right? Now, 1, 2, and again, you can say 2, 3, or 4 in here. But again, here's a big one. Here's a big one. Here's a big one. Here's a big one that went almost all the way. And we talked about this one most likely not surviving another hit because this one drove all the way down to the bottom. And it didn't. It dropped at base, then it collapsed all the way through. Now, it did not make it all the way to the opposing zone, indicator-wise. What it did is it ended up turning back in this area, which is really not the strongest of areas. And it looks like it's just trying to grab some more sellers. It literally pulled up, and you can see the same pattern. The wicks pushing to the downside signify that there's levels here, levels here, levels here, levels here. There's sellers sitting up here trying to force this thing back to the downside, but it's having a little bit of a fight. Again, neither of these two currencies are currently in play because both the economies are closed. So we'll see if this is able to push down. I do think this one will continue tomorrow. Again, now that we have the right contracts and people are seeing the right stuff for oil, I think CAD will get a little bit of strength back. The pound, I think, because of everything going on, I think we'll continue to get a bit of weakness. If it turns on this, I'd be really, really surprised. So I do think that we are probably looking for some type of a way to capture this area. We'll see how far it can go. But this is actually a pretty nice little zone based off the hourly. We have some time. This is about 160 pips to the downside. So most likely more of a conversation for tomorrow if this continues to have a bearish move tomorrow. Okay. Pound Aussie. So Pound Aussie, you guys can see, this one where we are right here. You can see coming back right here, right at the very end of chart school, basically right at about 11 o'clock. This one kicked in. This was a trade we set up again. Nice, huge push off, hand drawn zone. You guys can see the green here. It went into the zone, ended up coming down, grabbing the first one, and then just collapsing all the way through. Now, it drove all the way down as far as targets go. That would have been a target level. You can see not only do we hit the target level, we broke it, and now we're just bouncing and kind of riding along the top of it. So this is a pretty big move. Your 1 to 3 in this one was about 70 pips. Your 1 to 5 is about 112. The opposing zone on the other end, that's a big one. This was about 208 pips. So, this was one that we set up last night as well. We talked about here's chart school right here where this blue dot was, or the blue arrow was, and right after we hit about an hour later. And again, you did get a second entry off of this one too, if anybody was around to take it. Now, Spread is 3, so it's a little bit more on this one. I think the overall risk in this one was about 23. So yeah, it wasn't horrible, but a nice little trade in the overnight. Okay, and this one bottomed out at about 10 o'clock this morning, with again that same Trump tweet this morning. Okay. So weird pair, but nice movement off. You never know where you're going to find these, and this was a nice little grab from last night. So, tack on another 70 pips just off the 1 to 3. All right, Pound New Zealand. Again, Pound New Zealand, 99 pip on the ATR. 213. You can see it is basically bottomed out again. This one we had a zone drawn. You can see that a new zone was actually formed. Came down and hit it and just basically moved sideways. So in this one, you can see we don't have the same type of weakness. Again, the liquidity on this one is not my friend right now. I'm not really interested in trading this position, as I mentioned the last last week and a half, 2 weeks. I don't see a lot of opportunity in this one. But you can see it's bouncing. I mean, it's bouncing off levels. It's going where it should go. It just, I think this one will, has the potential with everything going with the pound and everything going with the New Zealand. I think this one could have liquidity issues. All right. Pound Swiss. So check out the Pound Swiss. So this thing was just literally, we saw this huge move up, huge move down. And again, for the last basically 5 days minus today's candle, right? You can see we had this push higher. We failed. We went again and we had a failure to go higher situation. And then it has now just collapsed. So for the last couple of days, we've been talking about how this position is definitely something short we'd be looking to get into. And you can see it went off the zone and they're just moving slow. And then today, that 1 4 hours, it dropped and then again has flatlined. Okay. Here's the hourly. So you can see again from, 4 o'clock? Yeah, 4 to 11. Yeah, 4 to 11. Same time frame, pound weakness across the board. All European session, we're kind of seeing the same exact thing to the downside. Not sure why we had that X there. I think the X was like, hey, listen, was that? I don't know. We have an X for a zone here, and we have a green. You can see this X obviously got blown through, but I can't find where the original... Let me see. I don't know. Was it an hourly zone? Yeah, there we go. There was an hourly zone. Anyway, you guys can see right there. I'd marked that off. That didn't have much faith in that zone. You can see that zone didn't put up much resistance. The green zone much lower. You guys can see this one actually did. It made a valid attempt, right? So if I extended this zone across, you guys can see, oops. Oh, I blew it up. Hold on. There we go. You guys can see that this zone, this is what we're talking about, how it's important to watch. So what did it do? Price came all the way down. And actually, I think that we do have the hourly. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Hourly 30-minute. Came down, and what did it do? It formed a base right above the level. Basically saying, hey, listen, we're going to push this down. I'm going to form a base right there. It touched the zone, and what did it do? It got pushed back up again. It grabbed those sellers that it was storing right there. How do I know it was storing sellers? Look at this formation, right? That little triangle formation that we talk about. Here, here, and there, right? There is that triangle formation right there, okay? Triangle formation, base before the zone, hit the zone, went up, grabbed more orders, and then forcibly pushed through it. So again, fine zone. Again, you have to be prepared for situations like that. But right now, to me, this one looks like it's going to continue to push to the downside. It may push up just a little bit here, but nice push down. This is not really a retracement at all. Over the last 8 hours, we've seen really nothing. And again, I see this one continuing to push lower. Let me see. Whoop, not that side. A lot of wicks in this one. Let me see. I was trying to figure out if there's a good profit target to get short, but no, there's not going to be. Let's see what that one looks like. Actually, that one's not bad. Look at that. Nice little base and a nice push off. So looks like we're going to have it. If you guys get short this position, make sure you are protected and you're out of these positions by 118.53. Looks like that's going to be an area where the next little bump is probably going to be in the road. Now, you could, right? You could look to see if the price bases, again, if it does not, there could be a potential long in this area for something small, something small. But if it bases beforehand, don't get short. All right, I'm sorry, don't get long. Okay, it will pull back up and continue to break through, but one of these two levels will most likely hold. All right, so that was the last pound-based pair. Let's go to New Zealand. It's so funny. I can tell when I do webinars for Nadex in the morning because I'm like twice as tired at nighttime. Not the most nights I'm not tired, but I can definitely tell tonight. All right, so here's your daily. Okay, we have not kind of fallen off the cliff. We've been kind of stuck in this area. Supposedly, right? Supposedly, dailypriceaction.com is saying that there's a 2,000 pip opportunity. And supposedly his April 14th commentary on the euro dollar comes into mind, right? Not sure what the full story says, but supposedly there's a 2,000 pip opportunity in this position. Okay. The daily ATR on this position is 88 pips. So he's talking about a lot of days worth of movement. I don't know. Maybe he knows something. Maybe the liquidity is going to run out on this one and there's going to be a run like in the dollar Swiss. I just don't know. But that's why I've always been concerned, lately with especially things like the pound New Zealand because of liquidity issues. But for the most part, this stayed within, one little range. We had a zone drawn, right? We said, hey, if we can get back up to that zone at 60.41, we'd be interested in taking it. It continued to drop and bounce off this lower zone. So, I would still say that that's probably a valid zone. I wouldn't take any longs off of this, but if we can manage to grind back up again, we know there's buyers down here. So make sure you get out of positions before we get down into this zone. Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't take it long, but like I said, I'd be willing to take a short if we can get back up into that upper range of this kind of curve area. But I do like the fact that we do know that there are buyers down in this range. Looking at New Zealand. So we had a zone draw up here. You guys can see, let's see, time-wise. Really this one, chart school-wise, we were sitting here last night. We were looking for somewhat of a retrace. It didn't get it. All it did was push down to the bottom level here, right? And there's this one right here. And that's all we bounced off of. So kind of the same thing, right? We saw New Zealand weakness. Today, a lot more choppy sideways, though. Okay, so, not too bad. Range on this one was about 50 pips. So, there's something small in there. A little bit of a gap here, right? A little bit of a gap. Fortunately, the gap did not even hit anything worthwhile. There you go. That's kind of, I guess, on the 30-minute, the gap ended up hitting. And that was at, it's like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So, a gap at 5 o'clock in the afternoon into a 30-minute zone I'm not as excited about. But, it went up. Okay. Still like this zone up here. I do think if we can get up top, I would be interested in taking a short up here at 65.07. I do think this is a good zone. Based on the 30-minute. So New Zealand yen 30-minute. We got some room to run. We got within about 40 pips of it. So it does have about a day worth of movement before we need to get up that, or we can get up that high. But I think that'll give us a good opportunity to get a little bit of a short out of here. And we've seen price respect that level already once. Okay, 65.07. Let's look at the dollar pairs. All right, so here's our daily. You guys can see we've been literally riding on the top of this demand zone. It's been holding. All right, it's been holding. It went all pretty deep, and then the next push actually didn't go as high, which is pretty nice. 4 hour, you can see we're kind of wedged in between a zone here. We're talking about 60 pips in a range there. Hourly, this is kind of what we're working with. We are more on the top side of this. There is a couple positions in here. Again, more of an aggressive target. It hasn't done too much. The zones are rather small. They're about 10 pips. This one, again, if we're going to drop to the lowest time frames, I think the best way to do it is really during the day. Here's the 30-minute. You can see we're in the upper reaches of it. If we're there tomorrow morning, then yeah, I'd be looking to get short this position. But right now in the overnight, I wouldn't trade it. I would wait till morning time. Crude oil may affect us a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be too big of a mover. I think it'll be based off of whatever media is kind of spinning tomorrow morning. Most likely, whatever they're probably going to pick apart this stimulus package that was signed tonight, and we'll see how the market reacts to that tomorrow morning. It should be good. I would expect that the markets would probably like another stimulus for small business, but we'll see what the when people pick it apart and talk about what's good and what's bad, I think that's where we'll get the true kind of market reading on whether it's going to be good or whether it's going to be bad. The Aussie dollar zone. Let me see. Like a spike just now. That 4 hour zone. And actually, the zone should be a little bit higher. All right. I'm trying to get to the top. Right there. So yeah, maybe a pip. I don't even think it's by the spread. Yeah, it's 0.4. It's not even a pip. So again, the spread would have kept you in that one. Yeah, here's the 15-minute. There's your 15-minute zone. And again, that spread would have kept you live. There you go. Kind of odd now. 10.15. It's an interesting spike now. Trying to see what I see something 35 minutes ago, but that's not it. Huh. Interesting spike. I mean, that's a spike of about 60 pips. Yeah, a 60 pip spike in this one. I mean, this could be the reaction. I mean, this could be the reaction to retail sales finally, but it's kind of a delayed reaction. Something popped that one. Don't know. But again, I mean, the zone is fine. It's going to retrace back down again. It'll come all the way back down. Like I said, that's just, that big of a spike that quickly. Yeah, we'll have to see. See if there's something in the news in a couple minutes. Yeah, interesting. So, again, dollar yen, more short biased, obviously. We're definitely on the high side, but again, I don't know that I'd want to trade it in the overnight. I'd wait till the U.S. session. Like I said, U.S. traders are driving this one lately. Dollar CAD. So, we're up 28 pips, 30 pips in 24 hours. Here's your daily. For as bad as oil technically is, I wouldn't say that this is really just, it's cruising. Again, it's messing with this levels up in here. Here's your hourly. I mean, what are you going to pull from this hourly? Nothing, right? I mean, there's no clean, like this clean zone. I got it. This pretty clean, right? There's nothing up here, right? So this is the best we got right here is this top and bottom. This range and this range. So this may be a nice, this could be a reversal. This dollar CAD level tomorrow morning, if price is entering this level before the news, there could be, something in there. Again, this could be an opportunity tomorrow more in Nadex if you don't want to play the, have risk in it. Get something a little bit out of the money, see if there's a bounce off of it. But, for the most part, I mean, that's the best we got in this one. I wouldn't really say that it's unfortunately, I mean, look at this hourly. Yeah, I wouldn't say that it's necessarily trending right now. It's just kind of going sideways. Right, just kind of going sideways, and I wanted the trend. Dollar Swiss. So dollar Swiss has been in an interesting level here. So dollar Swiss on the 4 hour. Here's a hand drawn zone, and actually we did on the lower time frame because there's a wick coming up out of the top. But you can see right there. Actually, here I'll remove mine. We can use the indicator. You guys can see it came across and ended up hitting that level today. Again, right at 10 o'clock for the Trump news, and literally it just blasted through the downside. There was your 1 to 3. I mean, it was a pretty instantaneous grab. It was a high on the curve trade. The risk on it was not horrible. The risk on it was only about 16 pips. It was a very, very fast drop through. So obviously the market was not the biggest fan of the stimulus, but for the most part, it's retraced it back again, and it's about at the 50% mark, right? This zone has been touched here and then went just slightly higher. It's probably valid for one more. Right? One thing you can do on this one is instead of taking this full risk here, you could take just this top section up here. Now, this cuts the risk pretty small. It brings it down to about 8 pips. But because we know the price has been up to here already, no point in, we know the price will most likely be able to get up in that range again. So if you're looking to take this another time, you can always go like this and take it down to that level. Actually, we lower this down here, but yeah, you guys get the point. Okay. Again, it brings your 1 to 3 up a little bit closer. It makes your position a little bit less risky just by taking 8 pips risk on it. Again, price has already been up there. We know that it can come up to that range. So, again, just one way to lower your risk. And that's it for there. And then let's go across to the craziness pairs. So, oil, can't do much with that one, although interestingly enough, oil actually did kind of rally back from this one. And a lot of that had to do with the contract exposure, but this chart's going to be screwed up for a while. There's really just nothing we can do about that one. Hopefully it regulates. Like I said, this used to be pretty much dead on. Now it's a bit off. It's still down at $7. Let's see, when oil right now, oil's trading at, wow, it says $13. It says 13, right, all the way down. So it got sucked down pretty quick if that's the correct numbers. I guess the ECN is catching up much faster than I thought it would. Is that what you guys have too? I didn't think it came that far. Man, good thing we're not doing the bet for under 20. But yeah, it says 1361, right? 1361. 77% of clients are net long. So yeah, not necessarily the best place to be in. Again, with this being off, let me see. Does the chart even look the same? Let me see. Sort of. Chart's kind of the same. Oops. It's kind of the same, right? Again, this would be the bottom down here. I'm on a 30-minute. This is on a daily. And then obviously the gap back up again would be back up in this range. But the prices are totally screwed up. So candles are close, but the prices are way off. I'm going to wait for this to stabilize a bit more. Let me see if I drop this down to a 30-minute. Yeah, it looks more similar. Look, there's the 30-minute, and here's what the ECNs are giving us. So it's actually not that much different. It's actually closer than I thought it was going to be. That's actually remarkably similar. But again, $12 versus $7.17. That's pretty interesting. Tall says the same. You have 1346 also, James. Yeah, but that's interesting. Look at this. So again, this is not based off of ECN data, and obviously the prices are off, but the candles are almost exactly the same. And again, this drop down here where it was all the way down on the ECN, which is where here it goes all the way into the negatives, right? You guys can see it. Well, I guess it doesn't. It goes all the way down to $6 or whatever. We can see that at least the charts are similar. We'll pick that one back up once this kind of equalizes. It'll do its thing. So gold. All right. So gold for the most part, I mean, it stabilized itself. I'm still bearish this position. Again, we're coming back up into a range where I'd be looking to start taking some sells out of it again. There's just, again, push down and just not much out of it, right? I mean, basically right here where Trump made that, that right here, interesting enough, we had a bit of a spike. Trump made that statement right in this area where it spiked up and then tried to push down. Before that, in the overnight, down to the 8 a.m., it was just literally going down again. And now that we're kind of basing and starting to form that kind of umbrella kind of pattern here. We'll see what the next screen looks like. But to me, again, this looks like this is going to be a down day tomorrow. It didn't make it up to this zone. This was a nice push off. This came in at about 4 o'clock this morning. Again, same time frame that all the pound news came in. But to me, it looks like tomorrow that this wants to come back down and retest this area. Coming back down into this 1660 range, right? We're at 1686 right now. To me, it looks like it wants to test it again. Even on the 4 hour. Yeah, on the 4 hour, I could see this thing wanting to come over into this range. Right? Let's see. Change this to this, there, to yellow. Okay. Let's see where we are tomorrow with that one. But yeah, lower high, came back, tested a level, pushed down, came back up again, didn't even get as high, and that looks like it's rolling over. Silver, unfortunately. Yeah, silver a bit choppier, didn't come back up. Obviously, we had a zone a little bit higher up, was unable to get there, but we did have a level sitting right here, and it did touch that level and did push down. Risk on this one was kind of, is kind of a little bit more than what we like to take, but you guys can see right there. And again, the 1 to 3 is in a perfect position. It is completely bracketed off. It does look like that's where it wants to come down to, down at 1463. And again, if gold continues to go down in the overnight, this one looks like it will as well. So again, overly bearish this one as well. I'm more bearish silver than I am bearish gold. If you're on the Nadex presentation today, either of these two situations where it is bullish, I am more into the gold bucket. Anytime it's more bearish in metals, I am definitely more in this silver bucket. It's just my opinion right now. And again, a lot of that comes from the fact that gold is up here, right? Gold, for the most part on the daily, is high. Silver on the daily is down here. Okay, so it is definitely the weaker of the two. It took much bigger of a drop and it did not retrace back up again. Where gold came down, but it was able to find buyers and come back high again. So that's my kind of bias between those two. And again, we are continuing to see this drop. Actually, on the daily, it looks like this wants to bring it back down to 1450. A bit lower down. Yeah, a bit lower down into this range. Okay, so we're getting close, but we're not quite there yet. All right. Actually. Yeah, we're hitting the top here. So yeah, I think we'll come back to the downside. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so let's look at NASDAQ. On a daily basis, you can see wasn't the best of days. Wasn't the best of days. You know, again, pushing to the down. Let's move this out of the way. Okay, and I think this is from last night. We talked about price coming down to that level. And a lot of this came from last night. You guys can see. I think actually pretty much all these hit today. Let's see, 22. Yeah, we were here last night. And we talked about price coming down to this level, kind of stopping in here, and we just blew through it like it was nothing. We weren't able to retrace it easier. And you can see we have consolidation right now. The highs are getting lower, the lows are getting higher, and again, kind of forming that wedge. With the stimulus going in tomorrow, like I said, depending on how the media digests that in the morning, I would assume that would provide a pop, but right now it doesn't look like it wants to. At least to pop up into this range. I think this range right here, this 86.22 is probably a dangerous level. The way that price launched itself off of that one, it took some buyers to move it that much. Those are the biggest candles we have more or less on this chart right now. I think that's a dangerous level for bulls. It's definitely somewhere where bears are going to jump in at that. So keep that one marked off. Dow numbers, the birds want water. So here's your Dow numbers based off of that daily. You guys can see it right here. With that gap up into that zone, it came back down and it's sitting at our targets. We marked this one off last night too. And you guys can see where this one ended up. Right. There's the zone that we marked off. Here's the zone that we said we were going to end up hitting to, and we ended up coming right back down to it. So there you guys can see the 1 to 3 based off of that target is finally completed. Overall, let's see. I'll get these off. Get this off now. This one really has just nothing. Yeah, I don't see. I was trying to see. I was like, man, is there some like a mini group of buyers in here? And I don't feel like there is. Bird is being extremely demanding today. It's like, give me water now. I don't think we have much to stop this down to 22.9 or 494. So I think this one is going to be finding some sellers, and I think this one's going to continue to push. Yeah, I think we're going to have to stay bearish in this one, guys. This one could actually be an overnight position. S&P is obviously bouncing off a level. Here's the level last night that I talked about hitting. To the downside, we ended up cranking this one pretty easy. And again, that's where we ran into this demand zone. It did take a little bit of a bounce, but not much. It kind of stayed at that level. And again, that was the target that we talked about last night. Last night, we were sitting up in this range for chart school, the 21-22 time period. And we took one initial bounce, and it took a little tiny of a bounce here, but for the most part, it came right down and stopped where it should have stopped on the 1 hour. So we'll see. This one is actually, of the three, let me see. No. Of the three, this one right now, if it can maintain this level and stay inside of this demand zone right here, till tomorrow morning, this one stands the best chance of taking a bounce with the stimulus news. The other two are not in anywhere of a zone right now. I think they'll lag behind. Maybe they'll move a little bit in the overnight, but this one stands the best chance. And we have a zone here, and we actually have one just slightly below it as well, sitting down at this level. So this to me actually looks like it does have some ground to stand on for some type of a long, as well as there's even like a mini zone right there. So S&P looks like it actually has some areas where we could have some type of a bounce. Dow, not so much. A little bit of a zone here, but that's quite a distance away. It's a bit more than what we see, in the S&P. And this is an okay level, but there's not much below that, right? Until we get all the way down here on an hourly. Yeah, same thing. There's not. NQ's got a lot farther to drop. There's not a whole. I mean, I guess there's this. I guess that's not horrible. I guess that's not bad. So I guess NQ, I guess NQ has a takeoff point. So Dow's about the only thing that doesn't have anything like really nice to take off of. S&P is kind of sitting in levels right now, and NQ's got a little bit of a level to bounce up off of right there. But if we're able to break this, again, don't hesitate to take a Harry Potter trade out of this one, right? There's a Harry Potter trade sitting in there if this is able to break that zone. Okay. And again, you guys should be able to find this. Drop down to your hourly. Again, this is ECN data versus the futures data, right? Look for this little pullback right here and mark it off the bottom of the wick and the top of the bottom. Basically, mark the candle because there is no top, and use that for your zone. And again, if we get a break, price comes down. Again, draw yourself a little triangle, and look at price go around that thing and to the downside. Okay. All right, that's the last one. I feel like my voice is starting to go anyway. 2 discussions today and some recording. I think I am good. All right, so let's pull this across. I know you guys are waiting until the end. Get your exclamation point ticket in. I'll give you guys about another minute. I'll stop it at 124.30. Gives you guys just under a minute to be able to get your final orders in the system. Oh. And I think I could do... Oh, no, I can't do that. I was going to say, oh, I could put music on. But no, I can't. I can't do the music. Oh, wait. Maybe I could. Wait, can I? No, I can't. I don't have that setting on this one. All right, so I'll give you guys 30 more seconds to get in. I think a lot of you are on today. Ernest is trying to sneak in at the very, very end. If Ernest doesn't get his music in the beginning, he gets cranky. It just shows I'm super tired. I didn't realize I could hear it on my side because it plays on the system settings, but I didn't realize that I didn't have the button click for you guys. Because if I have the sound on Twitch, like I'm watching Twitch at the same time, that's how I can see your comments. But if I have the sound on, it like vibrates. Like, so whenever you guys hear like the really, really bad echoes, it means that there's sound coming through the Twitch also, the Twitch browser. So, all right, we'll close it down. So, oh no, nothing on this side. All good. All right, so Wealth Builder is not in. So it looks like there is not 100 pip chips tonight out there. We will draw the winner, and the winner of tonight's drawing is James. Look at that. James, I feel like you won at the end of last week too. Like, I feel like that's twice in a week, right? Oh my God, Debbie, did you miss it? Oh my God, I even went late, Debbie. I said 124.30, so I can't feel bad. James won one last week too, I think. So James is winning, like, I don't know. I feel like James is coming up with, I swear, I think he won. Let's see. Right there. I knew James won. So James won 2 nights ago. Wealth Builder won last night. And then James won again. Man, James, you missed it by 1 day. 1 day, James. If you would have snagged it from Wealth Builder last night, you would have got the 100 pip chip one. Wow. Man, I still can't believe we haven't had one of those. We are so close. And we used to have them all the time. I'm telling you, every month we used to have one person that won 2 in a row. And now it's like impossible. Now like we can't get it. It's crazy. So, go James. I'm gonna have to find a meme for James tonight. I'll find one. All right, guys. I'm getting out of here. I'm gonna go get some more tea. I will catch you guys later. Take care, and I'll see you tomorrow.